Welcome to Life Stuff.
Do you wear anything else but a Kamala is brat these days?
No. And in fact, I'm wearing something every day until she wins.
It's just still shocking to me that they keep saying it's virtually a tie. Like it makes no sense. And again, it's that electoral college thing. And
You know what I've thought about recently is that, like, okay, it has to be somewhere in this conversation has to be that the people that love him actually love the fact that he like is exactly what he is, just rude, mean, like always calling names, always, well, they don't think, I don't think they think he's lying, but I think they always, they appreciate that. It's like that's their version of a strong leader. Whereas like we don't, I don't see that as leadership. I see that as just being an asshole.
but what does that say about that 40% of
I
people?
know.
Like,
I know.
and I know there's a lot more people like that in the world, but I don't think it's that high of a percentage in other countries, you
It's
know.
not.
But
They exist.
it's the pattern of what and how he does it, which is what other leaders do to get their people to follow. When you're continually lying and saying this crap, people are going to believe it. But here's my concern, and we said this, I said this before, that you know we're on track here unless something comes up to fuck it up. And I
Which
something has now come up to fuck
mhm,
it up.
mhm.
And that's the, you know, start of and possible all-out war
Yeah.
in the Middle East. And the fact that the US is completely behind Israel.
Yeah.
And, Iran is going to attack Israel. Israel's sending in troops, and part of those troops are going to be Americans. And once those Americans start dying, this is going to be blamed on Biden and Harris,
Mhm.
100%. And um, people will think, wrongly so, that Trump can handle this. And it's like, okay, we need him in there to deal with this. So
And
that's my concern.
that would be horrible. And also, I would say even the hurricane doesn't help because you literally there's so much politicization of this moment, and then literally even just people voting in those areas. It's going to be harder to accomplish that. I mean, they have 30 days, but I already saw a video online where somebody said, if you don't have your ID, there's actually a law that has been stated that if the governor states that the state has now been put into a, extreme weather moment for 100 days within the election, you don't need your ID because I mean tons of people left without any time to grab anything. So,
I just can't imagine what it would be like to one day have your house and all your belongings and everything, and the next day for it all to be gone. Like,
all of it.
I mean, I just and it just it's happened to a lot of people. And
A
I
lot
just can't
of people.
imagine. What
I
would
know.
you, how would you, what would you, how would you handle something like that?
I would be in shock. And I think my body would go into sort of like, I gotta figure this out. Like, I almost wouldn't even acknowledge the like elephant in the room of like, oh my God, I just lost everything. I would probably default to like trying to figure out how to carry on. But I think over time it would sink in that I mean, you just have to start over. Literally, what else can you do? Like, and do you even have the resource? Do I even have the resources to do that? I mean, I would have to lean on my family, my friends.
Mhm.
I would probably move if but this is the thing, like, I don't know why I don't know why people live in areas that are like super prone to those sorts of things. Like, and if I did live in those areas, I would be the even bigger activist for climate change work being done because they're the first to experience on our side of the globe like the effects of climate change. Like it's finally on our shores in a way that it never has been. Yeah, we've had hurricanes before. But these hurricanes are different. They speed up more than they've ever sped up when they get close to land because the water close to land is now the hottest it's ever been. And that cycle spins faster when it gets closer as opposed to slowing down. And so the damage is like, it's way more. I mean, they're saying Helen is like Katrina. These storms, it's like we forget, it's like the wildfires. Oh, they happened again. And then we forget about it. And then the next time they happen, they're even bigger and they cover more. And we're like, oh, what are we going to
Yeah.
do? And then nothing's done.
I mean, if you ask me that question, I mean, first of all, neither of us can really know until it happens.
Exactly.
A situation like that happens. I would like to think, and I think there's a lot of people in those areas who really rely on their faith,
Yes.
and they believe that, okay, God wanted this to happen for some reason, and I have to accept that. As I would hopefully say, okay, I would look at it and say, okay, there's nothing there. And then I would like to think, because I've been, practicing this for practically my whole life, is I would say, I just need to trust that there is a reason why this happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to have all this stuff. And, there is a huge, obviously some lessons are bigger than others, but this is a big one. And then I would go about, trying to clean up the mess and figuring out what I'm going to do. The thought of climate change wouldn't even come to my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that like that's really who I am, even in moments like that, where there's a practical side of me, but then there's also the side that would be like, why did this happen? Oh, well, I do know why this happened. But that's where, it feels like throwing a drop in an ocean because it just doesn't seem like we're actually making that much progress. But truly, like in the last 6 months, I've said this before on the pod, I don't really watch anything on television other than my select favorite shows, but otherwise I watch nature documentaries. And it's really like, and maybe that's why I'm this passionate about the fact that like I don't think anything else really matters. Like all the other stuff is secondary. All the wars, all the it's all just underneath the fact that we're all equalized by the weather, by the globe that is not happy with the way we're doing things. And so I wish that that would be the reason that everybody like actually came together. Like I don't care who you vote for, but at the same time it does matter because one person is denying it, one person is saying we could do more.
It's fascinating because what you're saying, and I mean, this is so much of human nature. And I'm going through an example of this right now with the problems that I have with the condo building that I live in Puerto Vallarta. We have a lot of shit going on down there, and there is a lot of conflict. And my point is, we didn't react quick enough. We didn't um, we didn't come to the table as a group and really say, look, we've got to do something about this. And now we are in a really horrible situation, to the point where I am considering selling,
Right.
which, is like, I mean, this is my dream place.
Oh yeah.
Compared to what you're saying and to what's going on in the world, this is the thing, you know, people like you and, many people around the world who are advocating for, who are talking about climate change and basically saying, people, wake up. You got to see what's going on. Finally, get to my point is, unfortunately, most people don't until something bad has to happen.
Yes.
So perhaps with these people, and again, to your point of what you went back to more sort of global and what can we do about this, as opposed to, oh my God, what can I do? Like I've lost my life, blah, 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 which is a perfectly um, acceptable reaction. But maybe some of these people will now be advocates for climate, but
Mhm.
something has to happen. I mean, I don't know if this is on our show or something, but we talked about something similar, but I remember saying to somebody that it's like you have a street that's very busy and pedestrians are crossing the street. And everybody's saying, well, there should be a sidewalk there, a
Yeah.
sidewalk, a crosswalk there. There should be a crosswalk. There should be a crosswalk. Nobody does anything about it. You know, compare it to climate change. Look at all the floods and the hurricanes and all the disasters that are happening. Well, we should be doing something about it, but nobody does. And then somebody gets killed on the street, and then next week there's a crosswalk.
Yeah. But it seems as though that to take that metaphor even further, it's like many people have been killed, and then we're still not building the sidewalk or the crosswalk. It's like gun laws in this country. It's like there's so many deaths, and yet nothing has changed. And I think that's just like the sort of crazy dilemma that is America. It's this like, is it the free speech that holds them hostage forever in this circle of like, we can never change any of these laws because then we've lost our freedom? I don't know what it is that makes people think that putting the crosswalk up so that people don't die when they walk across the street is actually going to save people, not kill more people.
So my question to you, we've got these people who are fighting out there fighting for this, and then you've got people who don't give a shit. And the question is, what can be done? What can be done from the situation that I currently find mine in, which is a very, very small, inconsequential, situation compared to what's going on in the world. But it's the same.
But it is exactly the same. And
So
that's why.
right. So what would you say can be done?
Well, my response first is that your experience, though it is small in comparison to the big things that are going on in the world, for your actual world, like it is consequential what happens at that condo, because if you end up wanting to sell because of this moment, now that back to what you asked before, you're not losing everything in a hurricane, but truly somebody's indecisiveness or lack of responsibility or just lack of respect is going to now cause many people in the building to question whether they want to stay, and in fact could totally change your life. All of a sudden you don't want to live in this place that was heaven on earth. People, it's heaven on earth, and then you redid it to be your personal heaven on earth. So I think, what can we do? We talk about this all the time, that like some of the big things are so big that they feel like I said before, a drop of water in an ocean. But the things that are very personal to you, I still think at the end of the day are the most important things that you can do for yourself. For example, our building specifically had a rat problem at one point, and truly didn't know how we were going to solve it, but I, a long time ago, started a thread for our building. And that was just a way that we could talk to each other. And all of a sudden, everybody started sharing their stories. And then we started like intentionally getting the super to deal with this problem. And even that wasn't enough. It's taken all of us individually, when we use the garbage, to keep it clean. My point of that is that one person can actually make a huge change in a small little space, because now there are no rats. We need to stay on top of it, but there are, like, we went from literally people were scared to go into the garbage area to now it's rare that you would ever see one. So I think we say this all the time, but you have to come back to your own life, and how and what are the things that actually affect you or me. And like those are priority. They have to be priority because they're your experience.
But,
Now,
but
they can be taken bigger because let's say you want to eventually be a condo manager. Like you would be a great manager. It's just, do you actually want that to be your experience? Maybe not. But maybe this experience of seeing all this power being disrespected might motivate you into that position.
this is all great that you people did that. But if you don't have the people, it could have been very different. You could have had people in the building rank say, well, it's not bothering me. I don't care.
Exactly.
And nothing would have been done. Nothing would have happened. But you need people to be on board. You need people to, again, this is where, to me, the only way things are done is if these things happen to those people. People just go about their daily lives and they don't, if it doesn't affect them, they don't do anything about it. So that's, I don't know the answer. I just wanted to, you gave an example, but what if people don't give a shit?
Yeah. I mean, to your example of the condo, it sounded like there was a moment where you were just like, I give up. Like this is like I can't even have a
But
conversation.
but it took that just happened today. Like this took weeks of me trying to make something happen and trying to get people to, you know, um, do something. And I mean, I haven't slept. I've been stressed, and now I'm like, no, I gotta look after myself.
Right.
And again, maybe this is a sign saying, okay, you need to move and go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
I would say that's an option, or you take a moment for yourself because you're the most important thing in your life to take care of in terms of your mental health and your physical health. But then you come back to it and try it from a different angle if you want to, if it matters that much to you.
there are people trying
Oh yeah.
so hard and working so hard to make sure Kamala is president, but there is a chance she will not be.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter how much you do, that thing that you're trying to prevent could happen. Then you could say, okay, well, now we have to deal with it. It's happened.
Yep.
Just like in my situation, we're going to lose access to one of the entrances of our building. And then we're like, okay, now what do we do?
Right.
And something probably will be done. But why wait until the worst case scenario happens?
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe that's what I'm saying. Don't wait till, but listen, there's a lot more people who are just complacent out there. And like I said, just don't do anything until something happens. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Do you think that this will change slowly as the younger generations start having opportunities to make choices? Because like if you were in that position, you would be doing it very differently.
Mhm.
You haven't been given that opportunity to lead in that way, even though you would do a fabulous job of it.
I, in answer to your question, I would like to think so. Because the younger generation, not only, in dealing with the actual political things, there's many other social things, you know, um, that are going to become mainstream, you
Yeah.
know. But I mean, it's certainly not going to happen in my lifetime. It may happen in yours. Just like, the hurricanes, you might have a small one. I said this before in your when you think, it's like the universe speaks to you and gives you signs. And first it's like little pebbles hitting you in the head, and then it's stones, and then it's rocks, and then you get the big fucking huge boulder. And then it's like, okay, I got it now, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what has to happen for people to get it. And I'm going to take this even far. I know this is really being doom and gloom and negative, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is a huge war that's really going to kill a lot of people, and there'll be nuclear stuff and there'll be all of this. Like, I just don't think the world can go on like it is. Something major is going to happen that's going to be like, okay, you people aren't getting it, so we're going to really give it to you. So
Yeah, they need to be shocked almost.
sorry, people, for it's kind of the mood I'm in, but it's also reality, I think.
Yeah, I think that these things have been sort of what's the not fantasized? What's the word for fantasized that's like not good? They've been
Oh,
well, they've been predicted for a long time, but I feel like we're finally in the throes of the moments where you're like, I mean, I literally watched a movie about World War II. It's called Lee with Kate Winslet. She just released it about a photographer that captured World War II very differently than lots of the men that were there because women weren't allowed, and she somehow made her way in there. And the way they described, it's like people did not see it coming. They just did not see it coming, and it feels like we're in the same situation.
I'm certainly not saying that we should all give up.
No.
And I'd like to say I think if you have it in you, do the opposite. Like, don't stop fighting, for what you believe, and to make the world a better place. What we need is, we have a lot of those people, but we need more and more and more. Just like the whole Kamala movement, it's going to happen because there's more and more and more and more people getting involved.
Yeah.
And, it's how way back when in the Stonewall days, like, homosexuality was against the law. I mean, it wasn't in my, like, I didn't experience that, but there was a time when things were way different than they are now in the queer world.
Yeah.
And so that took a long time, and for people to finally get together and say, stop, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And for me to wrap it up, it's like, you know, let's not give up. Let's not give up. We just need more and more and more people to fight for what's right. So that's how would you wrap it up?
Yeah, I would just add to that by saying like it's we talk about this all the time. Like you do have to bring it back to your own experience. You
Mhm.
can't live in the macro the whole time. And so and that might be just like the hardest thing to do sometimes because we're inundated with all this messaging about what's going on everywhere else. But do something. I mean, Michelle said it, like do something for you that affects your life, but also affects the people that you love. Whether that's one time calling or canvassing or whatever, like it could be anything. Wearing a shirt that's like, trying to get people to like think about this. Like it could be anything, but doing nothing is not the answer.
Well,
Well,
there was our episode of life stuff.
you
Um,
know, sometimes our life stuff episode is like truly what life feels like sometimes. Just so many things in a pot that you're just like, oh, like what is going on? That's what this episode felt like for me. I don't even know how to wrap it up, or I don't even know how to recap it because it was like 16 things. And yet they all were connected.
yeah, and actually, because I think the opposite of you. Like, I think it was I think it was very connected. We started out on a certain path, and it just became, like, to me, it was so life. It
Yeah.
was so what's going on with life, and I thought it was, um, you know, very well connected, which is always one of my goals, is
Yeah.
to make things connect and to put a lesson there. And I think we absolutely did it this time. Thank you for watching, everyone, and yeah, do
Stay
something.
stay safe out there and do something.
Exactly. Okay, till next time.
Bye bye for now.
Peace and love.
Oh,